A thread by Carlos Osuita. Trust Restored has a very important thread about the dangerous quack, Bandy Lee. This medical doctor hates President Trump so much that she wants all his supporters murdered. Land of the Free tweets, psychiatrist suggests middle America may need to be leveled, like Dresden, to stop Trump. Bandy Lee tweets, a reporter whose grandparents were refugees from Nazi Germany related to me. I cannot help but remember a conversation I had with my grandfather about the firebombing of Dresden, whether he thought the Allies should be reproached for targeting civilians. He said, I remember this well, that it was a necessity, because nothing short of the sight of seeing their cities leveled would have broken the spell. The German public, he said, was not open to reason. They could not be persuaded to abandon Hitler. That comment haunted her, she said. Needless to say, we are seeing the same phenomenon here, and every day that Donald Trump has exposure to the public, he spellbinds his followers ever more deeply, as mental health experts are precisely the ones banned from comment. Land of the Free continues. In Dresden, an estimated 30,000 people were killed by aerial bombings. This is what Democrats want to do to Trump voters. Carlos continues. If you read my threads, you know that I myself am a psychiatric patient. I suffer from PTSD, depression, and anxiety. Bandy Lee is exactly the reason it took me so many years to undergo psychotherapy. She's insane and evil, like so many psychiatrists. It's a truism that most psychiatrists and psychologists go into the field to find out why they themselves are screwed up, and they never heal themselves. Here's what the Democrats have done. They've invented an alternate reality. They want to visit real-world punishment on us in retribution for the fake world they themselves created. This is pathological. We can actually diagnose Bandy Lee. The people who do the kind of thing she's doing suffer from recognized conditions that are described in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, DSM-5. Bandy Lee has invented a fake world and wants to punish others for the world she invented. In Bandy Lee world, Trump is a dictator who has destroyed democracy, committed mass murder, ruined the economy, targeted racial and ethnic minorities, and adopted an open platform of white supremacism. Those of us who support Trump are so evil that we must be murdered. We must have our cities leveled in order to prevent us from ever electing anyone like Trump again. Let's consult the DSM-5. Bandy Lee suffers from delusional disorder, a psychosis. A delusion is an unshakable belief in something untrue. Bandy Lee also suffers from paranoid personality disorder. She believes that others are constantly trying to demean, harm, or threaten her, and she blames others for her own problems. Paranoid personality disorder is a cluster personality disorder. Cluster A personality disorders are characterized by odd, eccentric, or unusual thinking and behavior that lead to social problems. Bandy Lee is extremely off-putting in her TV appearances. Watching her, you're instinctively repelled. Guess what the final factor is? Identity politics. Guess what the main motivation for genocide is? Identity politics. I study World War I. The war was remarkably free of war crimes, and hatred. This is a real event. Christmas Truce of World War I, Joyeux Noël 2005 film. Link in the thread. And more of the same movie. Link in the thread. German, French, and British soldiers fraternize on Christmas Eve at the beginning of World War I. Bandy Lee refuses to make peace ever, under any circumstances. If her side wins, we get destroyed. We must pay for her mental illness. And finally, she's wrong about Dresden. Strategic bombing failed. It strengthened the will of the German people. The Nazis were defeated militarily. They fought like madmen until they had no more capabilities. And despite 2 atomic bombs, the Japanese surrendered only because their emperor ordered them to surrender. And it was not unconditional. The Japanese did not ever accept the original terms of the surrender demand. They dictated terms to the Allies, who were forced to guarantee the continuation of the imperial system. Even Hirohito said that without that guarantee, they would have kept fighting. Insane people in positions of responsibility do incalculable damage. That's why I will laugh at Bandy Lee after Trump's landslide re-election, and I will never forgive and forget. I heard a speaker at the Beverly Hills rally say what we must all accept. Trump's re-election is the equivalent of the successful Allied landing at Normandy. It's the start. In Trump's second term, we must work hard to keep people like Bandy Lee out of power for good. The Democrats won't recover from this defeat. They'll reform or go extinct. My life was ruined by severe mental illness, but never once did I think that others had to pay for my problems. I made a life for myself. It's a good life. 2 things make me happy. One is that others will now have great lives. And the second thing that makes me happy is the impotent rage and permanent misery of people like Bandy Lee. Shove your genocidal fantasies up your ass, lady. You lost. Your hell is just beginning.
I will be the greatest president that God ever created.